We'd love to have you prayerfully consider joining that great group of people. Again, it's corechristianity.com/inner core. Well, let's go back to the phones. John is on the line from St. Louis, Missouri. John, thanks for holding. What's your question for Adriel?
Good, Joe. Yeah, I'll guess real quick there. Why is there in the last days in the church, especially, there's false prophets and Christ coming out more so from the church than, say, like outwardly, from the secular world? And what's causing this, the uprising against sound doctrine of Christ? And thanks a lot.
Why are there so many false prophets? Well, at the heart of it, Jesus truly prophesied that this would be the case in Matthew chapter 24, verses 9 and following. In particular, in verse 11, many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. And what is the root cause of this? Well, it's the spirit of the Antichrist that's at work in the world already and has been at work since the days of the apostles. John talks about this in 1 John. And so there is an evil, sinister, spiritual force at work animating many of these false teachers that are outside of the church and who have crept into the church. And I mentioned it earlier on the broadcast. This is why the Apostle Paul, with tears, was warning the Ephesian elders. This is why Peter says in 2 Peter chapter 2, just as there were false prophets among the people, there are going to be false teachers among you. And they're going to be characterized by sensuality, by sin. They're going to reject Jesus, the truth of God's word. They're going to lead other people astray. And Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7, you're going to know them by their fruits. And so we have to be on guard as Christians. We have to be watchful. We have to be vigilant. And we have to recognize that we're in a spiritual war, that there are forces at work, behind the scenes that we need to pray against, and that we need to stand up to, where there is false teaching, where there is false doctrine, where there are individuals who are leading the flock astray. There's nothing wrong with calling that out. It was, I believe it was Martin Luther, the great Protestant reformer, who talked about how, every pastor needs to have two voices, a gentle voice for gathering in the sheep, but then a strong voice for warding off the wolves. And so we need to condemn bad theology and warn people against false teachers, people who are leading the flock astray away from Jesus, as a part of what God calls us to. This is especially important for ministers of the gospel, I would say, because there are people who are preying on the sheep. And so we place our hope in Jesus as the good shepherd and protector of the flock. But we're called also to be vigilant, to be watchful, and to be careful that false teaching doesn't sneak into our own churches and into our own lives.
Very well said. This is Core Christianity with Pastor Adriel Sanchez. If you have a question about the Bible or the Christian life, you can always